Welcome into the Alabama Football Report. I am Tom Downey, and the Crimson Tide took care of business against Mississippi State in Week 5. A 40-17, very impressive win for Alabama. We'll break down some takeaways, news, notes, etc. out of the game. But if you loved watching Alabama beat down Mississippi State, maybe you took the Tide to cover as well, then subscribe for more free Alabama football videos all season long. All right, first takeaway here. I thought overall the defense was at minimum decent. There were still a couple of plays that weren't quite right. I don't really think this Bulldogs team is that good. I get their wins were over Southeastern Louisiana. They barely beat a not very good Arizona team. They got housed by LSU. By the way, in that game, this is important to note why I'm saying it's decent. Mississippi State scored 14 against LSU. Did anyone else happen to catch LSU Ole Miss? There was no defense to be found there. So the defense was solid. I think there's still plenty of room for improvement and growth and doing better things. The ground game for the Bulldogs still averaged 4.4 despite several sacks that were taken by Will Reichard. I thought the passing defense was really good, a 15 of 27, one catch over 20 yards, but there were some chunk gains that Alabama allowed. And I think Jo'quavious Marks is a good player, only got 9 carries. The game script certainly favored Alabama's defense from that perspective. But the Bulldogs did run the football pretty decently despite a bunch of sacks, so 4.4 yards per carry. I'd like to get that down a little bit more. Also, you wouldn't normally think it was a 50-50 time of position, but not that it matters that much when you win 40-17. But you think 40-17 win, you think, oh yeah, Bama took care of business. The 3 takeaways that Alabama had were no doubt highly impactful in that football game. Certainly not least was the Chris Braswell interception, but Caleb Downs had one, Jihad Campbell had one. Overall, I thought it was a good performance by the Alabama defense. The box score overall, I think, is a bit more indicative of a blowout and manhandling that wasn't quite a manhandling, but certainly was a blowout. So a good performance as far as I'm concerned. So grade the Alabama defense against Mississippi State. It's going to be today's pinned comment. A, B, C, D, or F. As I mentioned, it's the pinned comment. So head down there, go vote, and if the ad happens to play here on YouTube while you're doing that, it's actually fine. Just ignore it and go vote instead. All right, takeaway number 2. Let's talk about the quarterback, right? How could we not? Jalen Milroe did not have to throw it very much in this one. 10 of 12 for 165 yards. No passing touchdowns. Did contribute to rushing touchdowns as he had 69 yards on the ground. Now, he was still sacked 4 times. So putting up 69 passing yards or rushing yards is indicative of, how good he was as a scrambler, as a runner, while still taking some sacks. It's not to say, however, that Milroe's performance was necessarily perfect. And he did go out of bounds twice for sacks, and I've seen that more and more in football, and just flip it out of bounds. Yeah, incomplete pass. I'd rather have a pass for 0 yards than a sack for a 2-yard loss, right? I do think Tommy Rees and company got Alabama more involved on the ground, and they got Milroe more involved on the ground. He was the leading rusher with those 69 yards. The 53-yard, I don't even call that really a scramble or a run play. It's, Seth McLaughlin snapped the football right. How are we doing this? This is 2023. You should never have a bad snap, let alone a bad snap or 2 each and every single game. Now, it turned into a 53-yard score for Milroe, so I guess it worked out, but I don't think you want to bank on that going forward. Roydell Williams, Jason McClellan are both solid, on the ground. You didn't have to make Milroe throw it a bunch. His NQBR was 96.8 because, 2 incompletions, 2 touchdowns, 13.7 yards per attempt. That was a game script that really favored Alabama where it was over at halftime. That's always a good thing. I congratulate Chris on the win. I'm like, hey, they ran the football well and they got the win. Good job. At halftime, I did that. They scored only 9 points second half. That's all accurate. We'll talk about that later on, but that's fine. If you are up 14 points in the first quarter, 17 points in the second quarter, you allow 10 points there too, I'll take a 21-point lead at halftime. Bama is going to win those games 99 times out of 100. Number 3 takeaway is on the head coach. That is Nick Saban. We will get into that here momentarily. Some of the old Saban, I thought, was back, or at least was spotted in this game. But first, today's show was made possible by BetUS. You can head over to chatsports.com/TideBet and use promo code TIDE125 for a 125% deposit bonus. $100 down minimum gets you the 125% deposit bonus. Last week we told you that Ole Miss Bama line feels weird. Feels like it should be less. Vegas probably knew that they were going to cover. They did it last week, and they covered again this week. A 14.5-point spread was really never in doubt. They ended up covering that with ease. The over hit, as I think I had advised to take the under in this one, which maybe, yeah. At least I told you to have Bama cover, I suppose. Bama almost hit the over by themselves. It was 47, ends up being 57. You can bet on every single Alabama football game at chatsports.com/TideBet. Use promo code TIDE125. Here's what Nick Saban said after the game. I'm sure we all saw him yelling out, cussing out. I believe it was one of the players. He said, well, Miss Terry told me for not playing good to get on their butt, so I just did what I was told. First off, is Miss Terry the secret sauce behind Alabama football success? Probably. I do like seeing animated Nick Saban. You don't have to go the full Trent Dilfer BS. That was too far. It's okay to yell at the players, yell at the coaches. Oftentimes, everyone responds to some tough love or whatever. You can coach hard. You can do it. You don't have to coach mean, but you can coach hard. I do think there is a difference there that certainly matters in these conversations. Sometimes you all need a good talking to. Really get yelled at a little bit. It's okay. I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't think it is, especially not in football. And it clearly worked out for Alabama, right? They kind of figured it out quickly after that. So do you like seeing Nick Saban yell as appropriate? Y for yes, N for no. Go vote for me in the comment section of today's show. I do want to give some love to the kicker. And also ties into my final point here about the offense in the second half in general. Will Reichard was 4 of 4 on field goals today. He drilled a 48-yarder, a 38-yarder, a 34-yarder, and a 48-yarder again. He was also 4 of 4 on extra points. So Bama's kicker had 17 points total. Mississippi State had 17 by themselves. I do think, and this is not necessarily unique to Bama, but it's like, how can we be better? This is how. Bama takes an early 34-17 lead after a field goal. They're up 31-10. They go 12 plays, 54 yards, field goal, 3-and-out punt, 6 plays, 18 yards, field goal, 4 plays, 4 yards, field goal, 4 plays, end of game. They had some really great field position late. This could have easily been a 50-point win. Now, look, you're playing Jam Miller, Ty Simpson on that second to last drive. You had a bad holding call that brought you back, but you had the ball in the red zone a few times there, or at least on the edge of the red zone, and you only end up getting 9 points out of those drives. It could have easily been 52-17, something along those lines. You could have put up the scoreboard a little bit more. So it is a little bit misleading because so much of your dominance came in the first half when Mississippi State had the pick six, the fumble, all that stuff, which they also punted out the fumble too. Another interception, quick play scoring drive at the end of the half. I think there is still room for Bama to have more success. And this is maybe it's Bama. If Auburn was beating Mississippi State 47, to be like, wow, Auburn looks great. Well, Auburn also almost beat Georgia, which maybe it's gonna be a weird Iron Bowl, isn't it? It's gonna be a weird Iron Bowl this year. It's Alabama, though. The expectations still remain. Be happy with the win, make no mistake about it, but there is still room for growth, and I'm sure that's what will be discussed in the film room between Bama coaches and players once they get to it. So what is your confidence level in the Alabama offense? Scale it for me from 1 to 10. 1 the low end, 10 the high end. Go vote right now.